Welcome all. It's that little gay talk show. You know that talk show you've been talking about for quite some time. Hey, it's Joel Tatum, and I'm here with the irascible, the ever so boyishly charming Miss Pinky. How you doing, Miss Pinky?
I always tell people I'm this side of the dirt.
Mm-hmm. Well, this week, the room's a little silent. It's just me and Pinky this week.
It's just us.
We're the hosts this week because we are the main body of this show. So, every now and then, I'm sure y'all would like to hear how Pinky and I hang out and chill in front of the microphone, hear the rapport, the debate, the
banter,
the banter, the witty banter,
slash cattiness slash tea fight slash shading
slash buffoonery. I like how the gays are bringing back old-fashioned words now. Buffoonery. I haven't heard the word buffoonery.
I like that.
Since my days 200 years ago, when David White and I used to hang out, and, we would hang out with Oscar Wilde and the rest of them. And we would use those kind of terms, because we old girls.
Right. I mean, you and David White. Mm-hmm. David White are the reason buffoonery was adopted by Merriam-Webster.
Chicanery. We had some chicanery going on. Mm-hmm.
And then I came along 40 years later.
Mm-hmm. And then
150 some odd years.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then this child was
then
born.
Debauchery came into being.
Oh, sweetie, debauchery has been along way before you ever even heard the word debauchery.
Fine, I redefined it. I'm okay with that.
Okay, all right. You're just living under its presence, girl.
I digress.
Good luck to you on that. So today's show, we're just gonna chill. We have our bottle of Coppola Claret.
Claret. I think it's Claret.
Are you sure it's Claret?
I hope it's Claret.
Not everything with a French name is exactly in French. Sometimes it's just what it is. It's Francis Ford Coppola. He's Italian. I just have a feeling it's just Claret. And he's from New York. So I just have a feeling it's Claret.
Yeah, but it's a blend. It's a red wine blend.
Well, I'm sure his daughter Sophia probably said, no, Daddy, it's not pronounced Claret. But if we're going to sell the damn thing, you pronounce it any way you want to.
Fair enough. Right, no, I'll allow it. But the blend existed before Francis Coppola adopted it.
Of course.
So and wine is predominantly French. So it has to be Claret.
Well, I mean, he is Italian. Wine is also an Italian thing
I guess.
I guess. So,
yeah, I mean, it's now an everywhere. Everything.
Yes, the French just think that they're ooh la la about wine, but the Italians have it down too.
Chianti is some special stuff.
I drink a nice little Pinot Grigio from Italy. That's very nice. The only time that I ever drink Pinot Grigio.
Does Pinot have a T at the end?
Even
though it's Italian?
Yes, even though it is Italian. It's not a Pinot. As some of my guests have pronounced, may I have a Pinot Grigio? What the hell are you talking about? And how dare you say that?
There's no such thing as that.
How dare you? That is such foul language.
So
foul.
Joel will continue enjoying his Claret.
My Claret from Coppola.
It's very fine. It's marvelous. It makes a super great burgundy beef stew.
It does. Oh my God, it does. I forget about that. It does make a fabulous beef stew.
Come wintertime, I make the most fabulous burgundy beef stew that we'll have to do for Thanksgiving or something like that. Coming up, y'all. We'll do a potluck or something like that.
When it's a nice, cool 91 degrees.
Balmy. Yes. Thank goodness for 90-degree sweater weather.
I know, right? Good Lord, Houston.
I can't wait to break out the 3 pieces.
Exactly. Not last Thanksgiving, but the Thanksgiving before, I decided to cook dinner by myself. I went through my whole YouTube videos. I Googled every recipe that I could possibly, from the turkey on down. I bought this giant pot so I can brine the turkey 3 days beforehand.
Oh, brining it so good. Super good idea.
Brine the turkey. I made stuffing from scratch. I made everything from scratch by myself until 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was 95.
And now you know why your mother tells that story every single year.
But I wanted to cook dinner for my friends.
I love that. Did your friends show up?
Yes, they did show up.
Oh, good.
I did. They did show up. The turkey came out a little dry. I was disappointed.
It's turkey.
And here's why it came out dry. I bought a thermometer. Not realizing that the turkey had a built-in thermometer within the turkey.
That it just pops out. The little red dot pops up. Yeah.
I bought this thermometer thinking, I'm going to be fancy, super chefy. It's Thanksgiving. Girl's going to have some fun cooking. She's got a bottle of wine. She's up till 4 or 5 in the morning.
Crafting and
put the turkey in the oven at 6 a.m. Made all of the sauces. Made the
fixins.
Made the cakes and the pies the night before.
Cakes and pies.
Because you can't have Thanksgiving without cakes and pies. You cannot do so. And every Thanksgiving when my family would do Thanksgiving, it was all about who went to the store and bought the best cake. Nobody made cake. And nobody in this house made cake. They all went and bought cakes from whatever store.
See, I love picking out the ones who it's definitely store-bought, but they switch the container.
But the funny thing is the ones who attempted to make cake, oh my God, those cakes were just the worst looking things on the planet. It looks like they were made in like a hurry.
Like that show, You Nailed It, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Nailed It.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, cake's all lopsided and everything. I'm like, girl, why didn't you just make a sheet cake? That's the easiest cake to make. All you have to do is make it in the pan, frost it, and bring it over.
Right.
Why are you trying to make a 4-layer cake and the layers don't even match?
Right, because they didn't flatten out each. They didn't cut off the top of each one.
And you didn't let them cool properly, so they came apart and all this stuff. Because you're trying to do everything in a hurry. That's if you're going to put the effort into. If you're going to say, I'm going to make a 4-layer cake.
Do it 2 days early.
Do it 2 days early and make the concerted effort to be patient and make it correctly.
Measure twice, cut once.
But I can tell you right now, it used to be a table surrounded by cakes that were flopped to the side. I'm like, girl, where's your leveler?
So much.
Where's the leveler, girl? Because this cake is a slope.
Like an elementary bake sale.
With some pink frosting on it.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, here we go. We got birthday cake. We got pink cake. We got...
Oh my freaking
We got a traditional chocolate cake with more frosting than cake.
Oh my God, every time I hear chocolate cake, I think of Bill Crosby and that famous stand-up he did. He's like, Dad is great. He gives us chocolate cake. Oh my freaking goodness, I love it.
I know. Unfortunately, Bill Cosby is making chocolate cake in prison. Although I hear that he's very popular in prison. He's having a good time.
He's having his cake made.
He is having a good time in prison. I don't understand how you go to prison and he is having a good time in prison. But he's 90 years old? No, he's not that old. But, he's pretty old.
He's pretty old. And that, and like, he's a superstar.
And he is rich.
He's surrounded by people who committed worse crimes than he did.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's not, like, there's nobody hating on him in there. Like, there's a very select, I'm sure that there are a few who have committed less heinous crimes who are in his company.
Okay, let's make sure we understand this. There is nothing less heinous than rape. So, he's in the right section
I will
of the prison.
say violent and scary individuals.
Yeah. He's in the right section of the prison. Rape is, it is
demented and awful.
It is a heinous crime.
It's heinous.
It's not like he
the worst.
Did a little bit of embezzlement,
or tax evasion, right? No, his crimes were not victimless at all.
Oh,
not
no,
at all.
Full of victims. Full of victims,
and the way that he perpetrated his crimes and used his status to do so and get away with it for as long as he did.
Which actually started a roller coaster, a downhill slide for a lot of men in Hollywood, because once his stuff came out, everybody started looking at everybody else in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Harvey Weinsteins and the rest of them just, Matt Lauer, all these guys just right downhill. So if you want to thank anybody.
Macaulay Culkin. I guess Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch incidences kind of started that. And so then Bill Cosby's victims came forward, I think, after Macaulay Culkin came forward. Because we know Wade Robson was paid and silenced.
Mm-hmm. So we have all of that. So his crimes were a bit heinous.
They were.
They were heinous. So we're not going to put any light on that.
And I forgive me all.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. That is not what I intended. But the type of tough-skinned individuals he is residing with currently, kind of idolized him, and who knows what he's telling all of them. Nobody in there did what they're in there for doing.
Exactly. And I have to say this because I actually just thought about this, and then this really just popped in my head. I don't recall seeing Jell-O pudding pops anymore. I don't. You know how he loved to do the Jell-O stuff.
And he's getting his Jell-O jiggled now and his pudding popped now.
Oh. Good Lord. I hope these inmates have better taste. Or at least they have some money coming.
Who knows?
At least they have some money coming because...
to get Cosby to rear up for you. Who knows?
Well, all I know is that when I walk down the aisle, I don't even think about Jell-O anymore. I just... Poor Jell-O.
Oh.
Poor Jell-O and all of the Cosby kids.
And everyone associated with that, because those are the real...
Because you lost money. They were the ones who...
That empire he built.
Just
crumbled.
Just gone. He's still, by the way, he's still rich.
He's still rich, and Jell-O shots are still a thing. So Jell-O will keep selling.
Yeah, Jell-O will keep selling. Jell-O is going to have to find a new pitch person, because I'm sorry, Jell-O.
Lord. Just don't let it be Macaulay Culkin.
What is it with Macaulay Culkin? Why is everybody talking? I saw... Did you see his take on... They're going to reboot Home Alone. Why are you rebooting Home Alone?
Didn't they already reboot Home Alone?
Oh, my God. No, they made a really terrible...
Third one, right?
Fourth.
Oh, fourth.
Third, fourth,
yeah. Because it was Home Alone and then Home Alone New York City with the two Macaulay Culkins. And the third one was that other kid.
Mm-hmm. Which no one asked for the other kid.
Nobody asked for the other kid.
No one asked for the other kid.
We were good at two.
I'm sorry. How many people are leaving their children at home? Please stop leaving your children at home. We don't want any more Home Alone movies.
No.
And in 2019, how do you make a Home Alone remake anyway? Especially since technology is, let me take that back.
Technology is encouraging them to leave them at home because now they can monitor them 24/7.
When we have a culture of people who are leaving their kids in the backseat of cars, not realizing that they're there,
forgetting that their fucking kids are in the GD and car,
and as much as I would like to rail on the fact that how can you forget that your child is in the backseat of the car, in this modern age where everybody's paying attention to everything else, I feel like I understand. I empathize. I'm glad I don't have no kids, but I empathize.
Do not empathize at all.
I do because
those are the same parents saying, "Oh, get off your phone! You're on your phone all the time." Blah blah blah. It's like, well, ma'am, what are you doing on your phone for getting your kids in the car?
Well, the ultimate punishment is that you lost your child. So,
that's
the ultimate punishment right there. You lost your child.
Speaking of loss, though this episode will air on September 12th, I don't think that it is ever, for this incident in particular, today, for those of you who understand the show, we record on Wednesday and episodes drop on Thursday. Today is September 11th. And 2019, so it's the 18th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I almost hate to use the word anniversary because anniversary is something that you generally celebrate.
Yeah, exactly.
But of the Twin Towers being struck and falling in New York City, which was probably one of the single most tragic incidents in American history in the last 50 years. I mean, you think, 50 years ago was what? 70? So there was a war happening, but nothing on American soil, really.
No.
Because Pearl Harbor even was before that.
And even though it was technically not American soil, but American soil, because at the time it was a territory, it wasn't a state.
It was occupied, right. But yeah, I mean, the last 50 years. So very tragic. I don't know that the moment of silence is necessary for airtime, but, in remembrance you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was in ninth grade biology when it started happening, and this whole school shut down, and we were watching it on TV, and like none of us really even knew what was happening and the magnitude that was happening, because none of the information had come out until after the school day had ended, and I was already home, you know, but I was in biology. And so we had no clue, and they were kind of trying to get on with the day, but like keeping us apprised as to what had happened. And I don't remember exactly when the towers actually fell. I know that they were struck while I was in biology.
I can tell you this: I don't usually watch TV in the morning, and on that particular day, I was getting ready for work, and the TV was on. For some reason, it was on. And it was on Good Morning America, and I was getting ready. I was up a little earlier, so I was having a cup of tea, and I was in the middle of getting dressed, and I sat down for a minute to watch whatever, I forget who was on the show. That was a long time ago. And suddenly, the camera pans out to the plane crashing into I actually saw the plane on TV.
I cannot even imagine.
The second plane. I didn't see the first. I saw the hole from the first plane, and I went, what the hell? I didn't know what happened.
The camera in the actual studio?
I think they were panning outside of the studio.
Right, but it was a camera in the studio that kind of went over somebody's shoulder because they saw it happening?
Yeah.
Wow,
I think it was an outside. Actually, I think it was an outside camera. They were sitting in the studio. They did the street. Yeah, they were in the studio, and I think they showed a big hole. They said there was a plane crash, and they showed the hole.
Oh my gosh.
In the side of the building.
They're talking about
while they're talking about it, suddenly you see this other plane just fly right into the second tower, and my jaw dropped.
That's intense.
My jaw dropped. And I ran to work, and everybody's sitting in front of the TV. Guests are sitting in front of the TV.
Right.
Everybody's sitting.
Stopped.
Everybody just going, what the hell just happened? Did you see that other plane? I'm walking in going, did you see that other plane crash into the second tower? What the hell? Are we at war? What's going on?
Right.
Everybody is freaking out. Mercy. So I think, for the most part, the news kept going on all day. People were terrified.
Right.
Because we all got sent home. No one wanted to.
Nobody. Everyone was at home watching television.
No one wanted to work, so we ended up going back home. And I had to say that it was the most horrible. I was up all night watching the news, all night, because I wanted to find out what was going on. There was a no-fly zone at the time.
Right.
No one could fly. The problem was, and here's the funny thing is that a few planes did fly, and it was people who were related to Osama, who lived in Saudi Arabia, were flown out. Secretly. They were secretly flown out. We wouldn't find out about this till a couple of days later, but they were secretly flown out. But it was a no-fly zone everywhere in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere. Buildings and major cities were being evacuated just in case.
Well, and you think about, like, all of the metropolises that there are. Houston is one. You know, the targets that there are on a map for America to protect. I was living in Detroit at the time, and that was, you know, pre the depression that happened in Detroit. It was just before the decline. And so Detroit, you know, one of the biggest auto manufacturers and a powerhouse. You think of auto manufacturing plants. In times of war, they don't manufacture cars.
No.
They manufacture, you know, jimmies and planes and engines for planes and tanks and those things. So Detroit at that point was still like a major, you know, target on the map. You know, if you were looking to take out strategic points of interest for, you know, thinking it from an enemy standpoint, Detroit was one of those marks. And, you know, so crazy to think about because, like, you know, you jump and everyone decides to live in these places. And, like, Houston, the biggest melting pot, the port, you know, of Houston is humongous for in and outs.
Yeah. Second largest port in the country.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the largest in the world. So, yeah, it was a frightening time.
I believe it.
It was a frightening time, and I know I know that most shows might be doing the whole moment of silence thing, but I think talking about it a little bit too.
I think talking about it and not letting it stunt, you know, from going forward. Yet, no, a moment of silence doesn't make that big of an effect. But if you have the whole of the country taking a moment of silence that could be filled with productive and saying we're going to get on with this. It happened. Yes, it was tragic. It happened 18 years ago. We're no longer going to let it affect how we move forward. You know,
yeah,
and,
exactly.
And that whole like not bowing to terrorism and not letting it affect, I think, is a more important point. To drive at.
The strangest thing that happened was
didn't you have family flying somewhere?
No.
Okay, it's somebody else that I know.
But the strangest thing was the fact that I had gone to the convenience store to grab a pack of smokes and a beer, and there were 3 people in the store who were harassing
Muslims.
The gentleman who worked at the store, who's basically he's from India.
But
because of his brown skin, he had the word terrorist spray painted on the front of his store.
For fuck's sake.
People were harassing him. I literally came in and what the fuck is going on? And they're like, well, he's a terrorist. I'm like, first of all, from what I've gathered from the news, most of the terrorists came from Saudi Arabia.
Right, exactly.
So this guy is Indian. So I don't know what you guys are doing, but you need to go home. Everybody is already scared enough.
Right, and
he is an American just like the rest of us are.
Exactly.
So you need to go home.
Yeah.
You need to go home. And he gave me my beer and cigarettes for free, and I'm like, no, we're Americans, dude, bro. You have to earn a limit. Here's your money. And I walked out of the store. I'm like,
change, no change, whatever.
You are an American. You're just as much as I'm American. This happened to all of us. This didn't happen to those people that just walked out the door. This happened to all of us. And it really...
That chaps my ass, as, in a manner, the old adage. That chaps my ass. I can't stand people who act like that.
And it really...
It's ignorant, and it makes them domestic terrorists terrorizing other Americans.
Yeah, exactly. And it really just... For the first time, I started to see when people are afraid, the levels they will go to because they don't know where to take.
Right, they're just like rats trying to eat themselves out of a hot barrel.
I'm like, if we were at war, these people are losing their minds. Everybody needs to keep a calm head. We don't know what's going on yet. We don't know the full story. We don't know everything. All I know is
we know basically nothing.
We know enough to know that it was terrorists. They were from 19 of them were. I know I got the number wrong, and I apologize. But the majority of them were Saudi Arabian, except for one who I think was from another country.
Right.
I think he was from Palestine or something. But
yeah.
But for the most part, they got their training in Canada, their flight training in Canada. They hijacked. And now, by the way, it wasn't just the 2 towers. You have to remember the Pentagon.
Pentagon was hit.
Yeah. The Pentagon was also hit. And fortunately enough, due to the bravery of some Americans on the plane, they crashed the plane in Pennsylvania before it reached wherever I don't know what the destination was.
Probably flight plan. It was probably somewhere else in D.C. because Pennsylvania's right there.
Yeah, so it was probably on its way to D.C. And thanks to a bunch of brave Americans, they fought the terrorists off. The plane crashed, but hey, they gave their lives to save other lives.
And that's the thing. Like those people, at that point, there was somebody on that plane who heard about the other ones happening, I'm sure. And so at that point, I would like to think that I would be one of those people who would get up and say, look, if my life's toast anyway, let them shoot me on the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Shoot me on the plane, that's fine. If I'm going to crash and burn, I'm going to do whatever I can to thwart this from being as impactful as any of the rest of the crashes. But that's nuts.
And the downside of that was the fact that we now live in a state of Muslim fear, which is ridiculous and stupid.
Right.
Because honestly, if you look at, and I don't mean any harm when I say this, when you look at all the violence that's committed against Muslims, it's from other Muslims who are radical Muslims.
Exactly.
Preying on regular people in their own country, preying on people who are just trying to make a living,
exactly,
trying to feed their families, that kind of thing.
And that the word radical is the best way that you can sum up the nonsensical behavior, the godless behavior that happens there with any of that. And it is gross to think that the vast majority of the world's wars and the mass amount of casualties that have been taken in the name of somebody's Lord and Savior. Because just about all of them start due to some kind of religious...
That is true.
And it's sick.
With one exception, the Oklahoma City bombing.
Right.
That happened years before that.
Yep.
And that was...
a shitty
white supremacist, shitty individual.
Sick.
Who killed women and children.
Yeah.
For the sheer joy of it.
Fucking just...
And here we are now. I'm going to be honest. When I hear moment of silence, I hear moment of silence every time there's a mass shooting. To the point where moment of silence means nothing. Every time last few weeks, let's take a moment of silence because 25 people were dead. The week before that, another 10 people are dead. Another this many people are dead. Another mass shooting after another mass shooting after another mass shooting.
And I think amassing those moments of silence, let's not use those moments of silence. Let's not use those moments to be silent.
Yeah, it's time
Let's speak up and out and, create a global chain of hands joined. Let's not be silent in those times, because silence in those times is where those things got out of control at some point.
And let me tell you something before anybody sits up here and tells me anything about the Second Amendment or what have you. I'm not saying anything about taking away the Second Amendment. Nope. I am not saying anything about that.
Right.
But human beings are not responsible individuals. And if you honestly think that someone who's going to go out and buy an AK-47 is going to go out shooting deer, you are sadly mistaken, and there's something wrong.
And
with
a
you.
moron, because you can't shoot a deer with an AK-47 and kill it.
What? You're not going to get any good meat out of that once you fill it full of bullet holes.
If you manage to kill it,
half the time you'll kill everything else but the deer.
You're gonna hit it once, and the rest of the fire is just gonna keep taking off, and that deer's gonna live a long, healthy life and never come back to.
And by the way, there are other people hunting in the woods. You really gonna take an AK-47 out in the woods, knowing that it's deer season?
It's a good thing W didn't have an AK-47. Because Dick had been all chewed up.
Good Lord. So let's we had our serious moment.
We had our serious moment.
We had
Scream, shout,
scream and
stand
shout.
up, be an American, quit being sheep.
Quit it.
Do not be hurted. I mean, and that right there, I could talk for hours about the hurting and sheepdogging of Americans. Like the thing, capitalism, we don't understand as Americans. We have the ability to control our economy. And yet, we play victim to loans that are 175% interest. Because we take advantage of those in need. We, 500% markups on products that aren't worth it.
And they come from other places, by the way, that, we used to be a manufacturing center. And now, because companies are worried about their stockholders getting their money, it's cheaper to just manufacture it and pay somebody 5 cents on the dollar to make it in some other country where they have no kind of 8-hour days. They don't have proper labor laws and this and that. And we end up spending more money on products that cost literally 25 cents to make. Right.
And nobody justifies the fact that, once you get to a certain point in a company, if you work at corporate, they offer you discounts on stock options to keep you placated to the shitty gray area politics that the company that you work for is perpetrating against the American people. So of course you're not going to rise up and say, hey, this isn't really right. Because you're one of those shareholders that they're looking out for dividends, at the end of the quarter for. So then you hush and you let it go on, and then they just dilute that by creating more shares and selling more shares, which just inflates, which means that your stock is actually being devalued. versus having a proper board of shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
You have these 150,000 shareholders for a business, and the breakup of dividends for that is so gross and percentage wise that, like, why?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember back in the day when gas was like, when it got to $1, it was insane. Like, okay, and like people are rallying together, and like, okay, we're not going to buy gas tomorrow, and so nobody in the area bought gas from these gas stations charging, $1 for gas because we won't pay more than 95 cents. So nobody bought gas. Guess what? Gas prices went down. Nowadays, if you tried a fucking gas boycott, you wouldn't get anywhere in your phone tree. You might get 3 people who didn't buy gas.
The words boycott has been bastardized so much it's ridiculous. Every time I turn around, somebody wants to boycott something for something, and I'm like, oh Lord,
right? Shitty. Okay, personal
let me
politics.
tell you something. As a gay man, I'm already not doing the Chick-fil-A thing. I'm already not eating that Chick-fil-A. And let me tell you something. I wasn't eating that Chick-fil-A anyway because their chicken is too salty. It's nasty. It's nasty chicken. I don't understand why people like Chick-fil-A.
I don't understand the traffic and lines that happen.
You know what it is? It's a chicken on a piece of bread with a pickle on it. What's the big deal?
2 pickles. There's no special.
What's
sauce.
The big deal?
There's no, I don't understand it.
And the fact that Popeyes ran out of chicken sandwiches. Why are people making...
Girls,
It's a chicken sandwich.
They are still out of chicken sandwiches.
It's a chicken sandwich.
After last week's show, I went to meet to a Popeyes, and all of them have signs up that say, "Be back soon," where the chicken sandwiches are on the menu. I was like, "So you guys have no chicken sandwiches?" Like, "Oh no, they'll be back in 2 weeks or so." I'm like, 2 weeks? What on earth? What's up with these sandwiches? Why are they gone? I've never in my life.
Did they ingest them with cocaine? Because I inject them with cocaine because I'm sorry, it's just a chicken sandwich. I don't see.
How could any chicken sandwich be that good?
People just lost their mind. Somebody actually went into and this made national news. Somebody went into a Popeyes in North Houston with a gun, demanding a chicken sandwich. Sweetie, it is not that good.
It's not that good, and like, if they're fucking out,
they're out.
They're out.
Go home.
They can't make you.
I can tell you right now, if you really need a chicken sandwich that desperate,
learn how to fucking cook.
Go on YouTube. They will teach you how to fry some chicken. Go to H-E-B or Kroger or any of the grocery stores in town. Get yourself some brioche bread. Make your own sauce. Get you some fresh pickles.
Panko breadcrumbs.
Get you some fresh pickles and make your own chicken sandwich at the house. Let everybody come running to your house for a chicken sandwich.
Right. Have somebody show up at your damn house with a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you ain't got no more chicken sandwiches. And then you'll kind of understand, like, I ain't got no more chicken sandwiches. You having a gun doesn't suddenly make me have chicken sandwiches.
And that's why I'm saying we need a little bit. I'm sorry. When you pull out your gun using your Second Amendment right to ask for a chicken sandwich that they don't have.
You don't have that. That is not in the Second Amendment.
That is, no. Sweetie, that wasn't.
You do not have the right to bear arms
for a chicken sandwich.
No,
you do not.
You have the right to bear arms if someone is trying to steal your chicken sandwich. But you don't have the right to go.
And by the way, steal your chicken sandwich on your own property. I know that we have an open carry in this state, and that's fine. If you want to carry, I don't have no problem. If you want to carry your gun,
I'd rather be open. Gun. I'd rather be open carry than concealed carry for sure.
But if you want to carry your gun with you because you need to protect yourself, I don't want to take that right away from you. What I want you to do is learn how to use your gun.
Learn how and when.
And when to use your gun. That involves proper training. Just like I have to go to the DMV and sit there, DPS in Texas. Go to DPS in Texas and sit in a long ass line for 5.5 hours just to get some paperwork done, to take all these weird ass tests and everything else just so I can get a license.
How about this?
How about you do the same thing?
We take a longer class to handle food. To serve at a bar.
Yeah, exactly.
To serve drinks at a bar, you have to take a longer class than it takes. And I'll tell you, I recently had gotten into some trouble. So I was at pretrial services in downtown Houston. And the young lady, behind the counter at pretrial services. And this is how nonchalant. Like, she works for the justice system at that point. Bragging about the fact that she has a concealed handgun. And me and the other security gentlemen are like, well, you know they can take you to jail for that, right? Having a concealed handgun without having a concealed handgun license. She's like, oh, no, it's fine. I'll just cry and get out of it. I'm not going to jail. And the crazier part about that, almost crazier, I can't decide which part of the story is crazier. The fact that she thinks she could just cry and get away with it. And it's probably correct. Probably 100% true. She'd whip up some tears and they'd let her go and with a slap on the wrist. But she walks in, and I can verify this because I walked into Academy as well and purchased a handgun. All I needed, state ID.
Yep.
State ID in 25 minutes maximum. They walk you out the front of the store with it. It's all yours.
And I have used a gun before. I used it in ROTC training when I was in high school. That was a funny moment. We were doing training, and I had this .22 rifle in my hand, and we're all talking, and I don't know anything about guns at the time.
Did it go off?
And here I am walking around with this gun, and next thing you know, I'm like, I accidentally pointed it at the instructor because I was doing something. I wasn't thinking about what I was doing, and he's like, boy, if you don't put that... what is wrong with you? That is a loaded gun. Everybody hit the deck.
Oh, my God.
It was, I didn't know what was going on.
How Monty Python.
I didn't know what was going on. All I know is that, why did you put a loaded gun in my hand?
Right? I'm 13 years old.
Well, I was actually 16, but still... But
even
still,
so.
I had to go on the range and learn how to shoot it. I was a terrible marksman, just terrible.
I'm a crack shot.
I'm just terrible. I knew from that point on. I'm like, okay, I've used a gun. I'll never use it again. But
yep.
But you know,
street shooting, target shooting. Funny thing is, I'm right-handed, but I shoot left-handed because I have a lazy eye.
Wow. So here's a question: when you masturbate, left hand or right hand?
Right hand. That has nothing to do with vision.
Okay. You know what? Here's the funny thing. I discovered this the other night, and I don't know, consciously.
I think it's called The Stranger.
Yeah, consciously when I'm, I don't think about it when I'm masturbating. All I know is I'm holding a phone in one hand and my dick in the other.
Because your dominant hand has to be on the phone.
And so the phone is in my right hand, and I masturbate with my left, which I've never done before in my life. I've never masturbated with my left hand until smartphones.
That's so interesting. Because I got really good at my left hand using the phone.
And
it just doesn't work the same.
And I tried masturbating with my right hand. I just fumble through it. It's like I've gotten so used to using my left hand to masturbate that it has become very comfortable. And having my right hand with my... Now, look, my friends have said this 1,000 times. Why don't you use your computer? Look, here's the problem with porn on the internet sometimes. Well, it doesn't happen as often. It used to happen a lot. But you always got a virus every time you went to every time I would even look at a porn online, suddenly your computer's being attacked by a virus. Blah, blah. So I'm like, I will never use my computer to watch porn ever again.
Oh my God. And
smartphones have the best virus protection out there.
Right.
So I'm like, so if I go to porn sites on my phone is automatically protected. And if a site comes up that my phone goes, no, girl, you can't go here.
Right, exactly.
You ain't going here. Find someplace else to masturbate.
Right. Oh so I think we're just about at 40 minutes in. So let's go ahead.
We're 40 minutes in?
We're 40 minutes in.
We were supposed to take a break at 30 minutes, girl.
That's why I'm saying we're at 40 now.
I think we need to take a break.
We need a break. We need to potty. My bladder was getting full, and I was wondering.
Okay, well then put us in
all this water.
Okay, so here's the thing. Pinky's going to put us on break. We're going to be back because, commercials have to run. I'm trying to get paid. I need new equipment, girl. Welcome back. That little gay talk show is back on the air. We had to make a quick run to the store to get things, because it is what it is.
Because we're gay and we need things, and we have to go to the store to get them.
The first 40 minutes of the show, we got a little serious until it ended with masturbation, of course. But we got a little serious, so let's have some fun.
Because we're men, and regardless of how serious you get, all things point and go the way of masturbation.
Yeah, exactly. Usually ends up there anyway, so might as well.
Exactly.
Might as well keep the tradition going as men.
Right. Indeed.
So I have this question, and I keep seeing these. What is it with all these damn boxes all over the place?
Boxes?
Mm-hmm. Every time I go online, there's this little box that you can buy for $30 where you get all these products sent to you once a month.
Subscription boxes.
What is up? What's up with that?
I am a guilty party. As an artist. There is a subscription box that I subscribe to, and it is called Art Snacks. And it's this really cool little montage of like full size. They're not like tester size or like fun size art supplies, and it's all these well known art supply companies. You get like markers, and like in October they'll do Inktober, so you get like inking products, which are generally like hand lettering and stuff like that. But you get like 4 or 5 full-size products to try out from these different companies every different month. So there's those.
I saw the one for dogs, and I'm like, really? Now we're doing a box for our pets. That's
which
what
is
we're
so
doing.
worth it. If you have a dog that tears toys up, it's 100% worth it.
I don't know. It just seems like these boxes just literally just from loot boxes in my video games to now boxes online.
Oh my gosh.
They're everywhere. It's like, what is the fuck what's going on with all these damn
Dollar
boxes?
Shave Club.
Dollar Shave Club.
Bespoke.
You have all these products.
Wish, Trend.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
They're all
as if you
over
need
the place.
a new outfit every single month mailed to you.
Now, the most expensive one I've seen is $300. You get a mystery box. You don't know what you're getting. But every month they send you a box. And I'm like, for $300.
$300?
I'm not paying $300
for nothing.
to get a box that I don't know what the hell is in it.
There better be a hand job at least in it.
Look, for me, there better be a PS4 in there because I'm not paying month. $300 a month. Let me put it out there right now. I have to pay for everything on this show. And so my funds are stretched. I'm not paying $300 for something I don't know about. I need to know what's in that box.
I need to know what is in that box, and it better be good. And it better. Is
it gonna help me look better? Is it gonna help me feel better? Is it gonna be? If it's a box full of weed, could you please send me that box?
That's a big box of weed.
That's a
whole crate.
I would be very happy if you could send me a box from California or Colorado with 90 different assortments of weed in it, so that I could be very happy. I would love, with my skin issues and everything else, I have to cut back on the alcohol a lot. So, because it makes my eczema flare up.
Right.
So,
that extra sugar.
So, anything that could help with, if you can send some weed. Will somebody do a weed in the box? Somebody do a weed in the box, please.
Right?
That would be so much helpful for some of us out here. Now, I know in Texas, that might be considered illegal. But, it's Texas, and Texas is all about money. Trust me, the weed business will be coming to Texas, I think, fairly soon.
Right? That and, let's think. Oklahoma's not too far. We could get a P.O. box in Oklahoma.
I don't know if I want to drive to Oklahoma. There's nothing in Oklahoma to see.
There's the Havana
and it's hot.
It's hot. It's cooler than it is here. It is north of here.
It's hot in Oklahoma. It is not cooler than here.
It is cooler than here.
At least we might get a breeze from the Gulf every now and then.
That's just blowing hot breath down your neck, like the devil, breathing on the back of your neck.
Maybe now I'm saying this, maybe a nice little, very weak tropical depression that comes in and brings us some rain, brings a little bit of rain, gives me a day off from work.
You know, I think we had one of those. His name was Harvey.
No, we don't want to go through the Harvey thing. No. We are broadcasting from Houston, Texas. So let me tell you something right now. We are not going. I do not want to go through the Harvey thing again. I did not get flooding. I live on the second floor, so I'm very lucky, very fortunate. I lost power, I think, for about 7 hours, and then I was back up, which is amazing because in the neighborhood that I live in, we lost power on a clear night, just hanging out one time, and the power didn't come up for 10 hours later. So. I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, that's the neighborhood that I live in. But the thing is that, you know, like I said, a very, very, very weak, maybe 2 inches of rain. That's enough. And a little cool breeze. That's good enough for me, and I'll be okay with that.
I'd be okay with a cool breeze. But you know, back home in Detroit, it's probably already like barely in the 70s all day.
Oh wow. No, I don't want to be in Detroit for the 70s. I'm sorry.
But the Midwest.
No, I'm sorry. Detroit is no harm to Detroit. I know that y'all are rebuilding and y'all are trying to get back on and get your shit together.
People will say what they will about Detroit.
Detroit, you could be the next Atlanta. Get your shit together.
Detroit is 8 miles wide. Once you're past 8 Mile, and people think about Detroit. Especially people from cities like Houston and Dallas and these huge megatropolises. Think about Dallas in the same way that their city is formed. The second you're out of Detroit, none of that depression is a thing. You get to 9 Mile, you're in fabulous Ferndale. You're in the neighborhood. You go 10 Mile, 11 Mile, 12 Mile. 14 Mile?
May I encourage the gays to move into Detroit? Because if the gays move into Detroit, everybody will follow.
And we are.
Of course, home prices will go up and some people will be displaced. And that's a thing that we need to work on. You know, every time we try to do something to rebuild neighborhoods, we
can't help making it more expensive.
Yeah, we can't help but making it more worse. When it comes to the people being able to afford to live in their own neighborhoods, I don't want to see people get displaced from their neighborhoods. Well, but I would like to see their neighborhood. I would like to see the neighborhoods like
it becomes a seller's market. Then,
yeah, I would like to see the people in the neighborhoods though be able to afford to live in their neighborhoods, to work in their neighborhoods.
The thing is they don't want to live in the neighborhood with a bunch of gays. They want to move out then once the gays move in. It's not a matter of them not being able to afford to live there. They don't want to live in the gayborhood because they're not gay, and people will think they're gay if they live in the gayborhood.
Oh, good Lord. But the gays bring up the property values.
Exactly.
You want the gays in the neighborhood.
Sell if you don't want to live there. But it's your fault for getting out before, you know. The thing is to ride it just before the bubble bursts. And a lot of people don't do that. They sell the second it's worth more than it was a second ago.
Well, I'm gonna use Houston as example because we don't have zoning in Houston. So people are literally able to open up a business right in the middle of your neighborhood if they want to.
Right, unless you have deed restrictions. Because we do have deed restrictions.
But we don't have zoning. So so the thing is that the problem, I think, is the fact that I would love to see the people that live in the neighborhood have more of a say-so in what they want in their neighborhood so that it helps them grow and helps them afford the places that they can live in and they can work in that same neighborhood and grow that neighborhood and still be when it comes to minority neighborhoods, the fear is always if the gays move in, then the property values are going to skyrocket because once the gays move in, suddenly everybody wants to be in that neighborhood.
Right, because we renovate and we gentrify
and then,
without it being gentrification.
Well, we start with renovation, then we tell our other gay friends, hey, I bought this house for $90,000, dirt cheap, and was able to renovate it. The neighborhood is a little sketchy, but, you know, it'll get better. And suddenly all the gays decide they want to move into the neighborhood. But once the gays move in, then everybody comes right behind them. And even the gays go, God damn, it's too expensive to live in our own neighborhood.
Right. Oh,
and then we have to move out. So
then we got to move out.
So the thing is that, you know, we have to find a middle ground because, like I said, using Houston as an example, I've seen the Fourth Ward that was once an all African American neighborhood, suddenly now there's condos and restaurants and all this other stuff, and most of the people who used to live in that neighborhood can't afford to live there anymore because they've been priced out. Yeah. So the thing is that we really need to figure out a way to make gentrification work for not just the people who are moving in, but for the people who are. And you know who's responsible for that?
The tax makers. Mm-hmm. Because with the property values going up, the taxes go up. And taxes are something that you pay on your property every year. So when your property value goes up, your tax value goes up as well.
The problem is,
and that's where they get priced out.
Yeah. The problem is the fact that in those neighborhoods, most of the people who live in those neighborhoods rent. So exactly. The few that can't afford to buy houses in their neighborhood will stay in the neighborhood because they'll see their property values go. But when the majority of people who live in that neighborhood rent...
Right, and when the property taxes go up, the rent goes up exorbitantly in retrospect to that, in order for them to keep making that profit.
Yeah, exactly. So
because in times where a person rents their house out, generally they own it or are close to owning it, and every bit of your rent is profit except for the taxes that person continues to pay even after the home loan is paid off. And so in order to keep on that profit margin, they tack money on exorbitantly to cover the property taxes. And the taxes go wild crazy. Like the second a neighborhood, like property values start jumping that extra place point, or even that next 100,000 up, the property value, the taxes in that area associated with that suddenly jump a decimal place as well.
And the problem is that the homeowner usually ends up footing the bill when the businesses, especially large corporations, end up getting huge tax breaks to build wherever they choose to build. And they end up with the huge tax breaks, and the homeowners get the shaft every time.
Every time. Because they're taking up the same lot. They're paying the same taxes.
And they get the shaft every time. But I don't want to get too into that because, after all, this is that gay little talk show. We have talked about economics. We've talked gentrification.
Right.
We've talked 9/11.
We have.
We have talked so much, but we...
Left and right.
We have, something came up that was quite interesting. And it's not really super gay related, but it's kind of funny in a certain way. It's along the lines of gender. But the fact of the matter is that scientists, this is scientific. Now, I have two stories when it comes to science. One, talking about the gay gene, which science says does not exist. However, and there's always a however when it comes to scientists, just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean that there isn't certain genomes that
don't predispose you to homosexuality.
Yeah, exactly. There's still work. It's still work in progress. It's still to find how sexuality works in the human genome.
Straight sexuality is still a super mystifying area as far as scientific is to science.
Well, as far as Darwinism is concerned, you try to repopulate you try to populate an area as much as possible. You have babies, you do that, blah blah blah. That's what you need to do.
Right.
You're predisposed to procreate. But when it comes to ideas of sexuality, especially mostly homosexuality, because homosexuality is always going to be the thing that scientists always go to. They don't go to the other sexualities simply because...
Right. They think they've got it all figured out.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to... It's always heterosexuality versus homosexuality.
Right.
And when it comes to science, it's not the other sexualities that come into play.
See, and I think I've expressed my kind of... I don't know... It's probably by now an established theory in science, but there are certain species in nature that have been observed that develop a sort of generation of homosexuality because it is easier to modify an attraction gene than it is to bring on a generation of non-procreators.
Yeah, exactly.
So adding the procreation back in, we as homosexuals still have this drive to spread our seed and procreate. We can't have babies. It doesn't stop us from trying.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just put it somewhere where it's not going to contribute to an overpopulation problem. And so there have been these studies where these other species take on a generation
Mm-hmm.
of homo-attracted,
Mm-hmm.
species, be it females on females or males on males,
Mm-hmm.
in an order to mitigate overpopulation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the most, I think, noteworthy theory I've heard on why homosexuality exists.
Mm-hmm.
As far as a mutation, and in that sense, the guy, Polychronopoulos, whatever his name was that we got to talking about, last week, was onto something.
Mm-hmm.
We are evolved.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean Milo Yiannopoulos? Yeah. Where did you get Poly? Milo Yiannopoulos.
The Adam Sandler.
Yes,
CD.
yes, exactly.
Polychronopoulos. But he was onto something. We are the more evolved versions of our heterosexual counterparts. But we are a chink in the chain.
Yeah, exactly.
We are a non-lasting, and that's where we've seen this influx of homosexuality. And now it's gone to like poly and whatever because of our social politics.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because of our natures. If you look at the amount of homosexuals that are still coming out, it has gone down. Because the procreation has been mitigated by, the generations come from, X, and, baby boomer X and the millennial generations is where the mass influx of homosexuality came from. And it became a pop, culture thing because we were no longer going to be treated like subhuman. But I think that the wheelhouse of like it just being part of our biological order, because homosexuality is not a new thing. It goes back to like ancient Greeks,
It goes back even further than that.
Right, exactly.
It goes way back even further. Homosexuality and heterosexuality have been a part of human nature
exactly
since humans first walked upright.
And if there is anything that we know about human nature is that it works in cycles.
Yeah, exactly.
Abuse cycles, eating disorder cycles, substance abuse cycles. I
don't know what
cycles.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know what any of those cycles have to do with anything.
Just
I will say
behavioral patterns
from a
for
sociological
people.
level, and I'm not a sociologist, so I'm going to put that out there. From a sociological level, right now we're living in an age where actually the population is not growing as much as a lot of countries would like. People are not having babies in their 20s. They're waiting later, or they're not having them at all. In fact, in America, like I said, this story I read, and this is from Science, a lot of women are finding it harder to find men who are economically viable for marriage. So they're choosing not to marry. And a lot of women, now that they have more control over their own bodies, and which is, I think, why we're having this war on abortion, birth control, that kind of thing. A lot more women are now saying that I don't want to have children.
Right, I'm not going to be your baby factory.
I want to live my life like a man and be able to enjoy my life with the freedom of not having to worry about having kids.
Right, or being stuck at home, not being able to have a career. Because it's also gotten easier and easier for men to leave women in those situations, stuck with the kids, and not have to take responsibility for it. I mean, take my dad. My dad probably owes my mother quite a bit of child support. Never paid a dime of it on myself, as far as I know. And, like, the balance there is, it's probably like $15,000. But that was in the 80s and the early 90s. And the inflation does not take effect to that balance, which is unfortunate because now, because I'm of age, that child support would now go to me instead of my mother. So if the inflation did take effect on that, and I was going to come into 25, 30,000, probably more than that if the actual inflation numbers or percentages were factored in. But
with the fact that women are graduating college at rates higher than men. Women are now 51% of the workforce in this country.
Thank goodness for that.
Thank goodness. And I say to the women out there who are 51% of the workforce,
fucking go, girl.
Do what men did for God knows how long. Find yourself a stay-at-home husband.
I will be your stay-at-home husband.
Have some kids. Have some kids and make him stay at home.
Right? You go out with the girl.
You earn the bread. You should enjoy the benefits of what men have enjoyed for God knows how long. Make them stay at home. Buy them pretty clothes.
Buy them pretty.
Give them an allowance. Make sure they take care of the kids.
Pretty clothes. I will take care of the kids all
Women,
day long.
not lament. Do not lament. If you can't find a husband who makes the same amount as you, don't worry about it, sweetie. Just find some love. And then say to your husband, look, I make more money than you, and you and I both know this. So what we are planning to have
don't be a bitch about it.
We're planning on having 2 kids, but I want to keep my career. So you're gonna stay at home and take care of the kids, and I'm gonna work. And look, if I was a heterosexual man, I won't in on that. I would want in on that. I have to stay home and take care of
I will take the kids to practice and dance recitals and everything.
Because honestly, I do really, and as much as we're laughing and having a joke and joking about it, I really would like for men to take more control when it comes to parenting the kids. You know, I for years I have heard. Now I'm an older man, so for years when I would talk to other heterosexual men in my age group, when they would stay home and watch the kids, they would always be celebrated for watching the kids. And I would always think, wait a minute.
Shouldn't you be anyway?
Why are you getting celebrated for something that's your responsibility anyway? That's your responsibility. You helped make that kid.
I cannot stand motherfuckers.
Why is it that when a woman stays home, take care of her kids, that's her job?
She's doing what
she needs to do. But when you stay home to take care of the kids, you get celebrated for it. Like you're some babysitter she married. You are that kid's parent. That's yours. You don't get no high fives from me because you stayed home and took care of your kids one afternoon. That's your responsibility.
You don't get no cookies for
making
par.
You don't get no cookies. You don't get no special celebration.
You scored a 0.
You scored
that means
a
you
0.
Get no extra.
So ladies out there in the world who are making more than your husbands, they can stay at home and take care of the kids. They can stay home and do that. They made you do it for God knows how long. It's their turn. It's their turn, and they will grow to find that raising kids might be a beautiful thing if they did that. And you get to live your life and have a career and do all that, and still be a mother,
right?
And everything else. You still can do your thing as a mother, but you'll have somebody at the house to take care of the kids, and that somebody should be the man that you married.
Yeah,
and he can get a little part-time job and earn a little money for some nice clothes for himself. Get his hair
buy yourself some purdy.
Get his hair did. Get his nails done so he looks good for you when he comes home. When you come home,
pedicures.
When you come home,
get rid of them hooves, men.
When you come home from a hard day at work and you want to slide down on that pole, and he tells you, "No, how dare you?
I got a headache.
I've been working all day. I've been taking care of these kids, cooking all day, doing all this stuff, and you want to just jump on my dick like I'm nothing? What the hell is wrong with you?"
You know what I have to say about that? Turnabout is fair play.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
I got a headache.
If sisters are doing it for themselves, they need to be doing it more. Get out there in the world, girls. Don't let these scientists make you feel bad for you. You worked hard to get an education. Sometimes
harder than he had to.
So harder than he probably had
almost
to.
Guaranteedly.
Had to put up with more shit than you had to walk that. You can't even walk out your door without being catcalled. You can't walk down. You can't walk to your car safely. You can't go out and have drinks with your girls without worrying about some dumbass trying to
ignorant ass shit like,
exactly.
How is she dressed? What the fuck does that matter?
Or being told, why don't you smile? It'll make you prettier. Or any of that condescending shit that men have put on you for God knows how long. It's time to turn the tables. Don't let this one scientific study deter you from fun. It's about time y'all turn the tables.
You're doing right.
You're doing
right by womankind.
You're doing right by yourself.
I always say, and will always say, whoever has the pussy has the power.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's time that they start taking it back.
Take it back,
because
girls.
Men will yield to it.
Heterosexual men don't have a problem with it.
And they don't. They really don't.
They don't.
As long as you don't do it in front of their guy friends, you could crack that whip and that motherfucker will snap into shape.
We're already living, and I'm already starting to see it. We're already living in a generation where I'm starting to see more and more men out with their kids, and they gather together with their kids.
I love stroller dads.
And just doing their thing.
That's because I'm a homewrecker.
I know, stroller dads are sexy.
Nothing sexier. I mean, you see a guy who's really good with his dog, that's sexy. A guy who's really good with his kids, though, and a guy who's a good dad. See, I had a shitty dad. I had 2 shitty dads. So seeing a guy who's good to his kids.
Guess what? Those shitty dads grew up under dads who taught them how to, that's what men are supposed to do.
Exactly. So it's high time men start learning how to treat their children, and it's sexy. So all of you hetero males, if there are any of you catching a listen of this, keep it up. Be proud of being catcalled, because if I see you at the park, I'm going to catcall. Exactly. Whether you got a stroller or not.
Exactly.
If you got some thick legs pushing that stroller, I'm a catcall at you. So
I want you to wear your yoga pants when you go to lunch to have
that print.
To have your what is it? White Claw. I love. What is it? What is the deal with White Claw? Girl, White Claw is
blowing up. It's all over the radio.
It's all over the place. In fact, just like Popeye's chicken, they are sold out too.
Are they really?
Yes.
Okay,
White
so we're going to have to
Claw
track some down and have it next show. You can have some next show. I'm sober.
Next show, I'm going to have several cans of White Claw, and we're going to sit around and drink this shit.
We're going to get White Claw wasted.
And I read an article from a gay man about White Claw, and it was very amusing at the fact that he said, you know what, gays have been doing this for years. I don't know why. We drink our seltzer water, vodka, and a little bit of juice. We've been doing that for years. Now, is it cultural appropriation? Yes, it is, but we don't mind this time.
Let's call it cherry vodka sour.
We don't mind because y'all need to enjoy life just like, gays enjoy their life.
We do.
And we don't, and by the way...
That's because when we do have kids, we don't have them until later in life. Mostly because we can't. I will say that. Because I would probably have a half dozen at least illegitimate children if you could have children with other men. Thank God you can't. But I mean, you normally have to go through such a process now that you have to show that you which is ridiculously appropriate. I think whether you're gay or straight should show that you're responsible enough to bring another life into the world and create such a quality of life for it that it will succeed and be a successful part of human society when it comes of age.
And we, I'm gonna tell you right now, heterosexuals, we are under the microscope when it comes to this. If we fuck up even one time, now this did happen. This did happen with a lesbian couple who adopted some kids and then they drove over a cliff, and that turned into something horrible.
Oh Lord,
that was just horrible.
You said lesbians?
That was horrible. Nothing. By the way, nothing against the lesbian community. Most wonderful. They are
our sisters.
They are our sisters
with arms.
They are our sisters in arms. They are our sisters in arms. With arms. In arms, with arms.
We love our construction worker sisters.
Yes, exactly.
Who else would build the sidewalks in Montrose?
Exactly. Who else puts the roof on our house when we need them to put the roof on the house?
Our lesbian sisters with arms.
I hope Miss White doesn't mind me telling this story, but if she does, she'll let me have it next week. But when she had work done on her house, of course, the lead person was lesbian. And he was like, Joel, sister in arms, she made sure she got me deals. I'm like, did you use the gay discount? She used the gay discount, girl.
I love it,
Girl, when we find each other and we working together, girl,
our sisters with arms.
Our sisters with arms, girl. Our sisters with arms. The closest thing that we have on this show is our bisexual friend Singapore, but
she's less arms.
She has less. She's
not construction worker.
She's not
definitely
construction
lipstick.
She's definitely lipstick. Legs for days. Legs for days. I wish you could put her in a pair of heels. I bet those legs would be amazing.
I've got a pair that I'm going to try and get her to wear next time she's on the show. Mm-hmm. She'll love them. Mm-hmm. They're super tall and snake skin print. Mm-hmm. She is going to die. She's going to love them.
But Sisters in Arms, y'all work through. Y'all have gone through college. Y'all worked hard. Turn society around. Gym. And I can guarantee you, when these men are raising these kids, catcalling will become a lot less. They will teach their kids to have respect for other human beings. They'll teach their girls to be strong individuals.
I am a dog.
I'm for that. So
I'm a dog. I will still be catcalling at the stroller baths.
That's all right. That's what we do as gay men. We can catcall.
I love that. Love
sitting around drinking White Claw, looking at men
at the park on the park with my stroller, just kind of like rocking it back and forth. Like, nope, there's no baby in there. That's just White Claw.
You know what I want to be? I think there's a market for being just to go to the park and wait for all the dads to show up at the park with their little ones. White Claw. Anybody need White Claw? Anybody need White Claw? $9 a can. $9.
But you gotta have that thing on with the straps, like at the ballpark, like ice cold White Claw, $9.
Watch them come run over, girl.
And push pops for the babies.
But for those few ladies that are at the park still doing their thing, we'll always have white wine.
There's no shame in that.
We will always have white wine available, just in case.
Just in case.
We will be dragging that little cooler behind us with white wine in the little bottle, so you don't get caught with a big bottle.
Right. Because we don't want them hitting up the grocery store on the way home from the park and forgetting about the little ones in the back because they had too much white wine.
Exactly. And as gay men, we will be on patrol to make sure that we'll look in the back seat, make sure your kids are where they're supposed to be. We'll make sure. We'll make sure that hey girl, I'm sorry, but you've already had 3, so you can't have no more. So we'll make sure we'll make sure that we get you in an Uber and get you home, girl, because you can't go pick up little Timmy at daycare. No, ma'am. You need to go home and take a nap, and then you go pick up Timmy. We'll be there for you, girls. Gay men are always there for you when you need us to be there.
We are the official holdbackers of hair.
We are the official, hey, girl, we know. We understand.
We understand. He's a pig.
We're here to listen to you. He is a pig, but you said he was a pig. We didn't say he was a pig. Unlike your other girlfriends who are like, girl, he's a pig. You should leave him.
We don't want to.
We only tell you to leave a man
unless he's hot.
We only tell you to leave a man if he physically puts his hands on you, and then we will come to your house, physically put our hands on him.
I was going to say, I have a little discussion with him after I find out those facts. Because I may be a boy in heels, but I'm not going to show up in heels when I show up to have a discussion with your husband about inappropriately placing his hands on his other half.
Speaking of
I have
heels,
zero patience for that.
Speaking of heels, and I want the queens out here to listen to this. Across the nation and in certain parts of the world, gays are running to self-defense classes because, in certain countries, it's hard to be gay. You got to be able to defend yourself. There are people coming for you. So if you were out there in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil especially, Brazil has had a high rate of gay murders, transgender murders, that kind of thing. We have got to start defending ourselves. If that means you get out there, you take a self-defense class, take a self-defense class.
That does not mean use your Second Amendment right and be another idiot out there with a gun.
But if you are going to be an idiot, if you are going to have a gun, know how to use it.
Know how to use it, know when to use it.
But learn self-defense. We have to start learning self-defense. If we need to protect ourselves.
I will say, ladies and gentlemen out there looking for a maybe you're not sure about a self-defense class because it makes you seem like the kind of person you don't feel like you are. I would recommend a kickboxing gym.
I would recommend Krav Maga. I think Krav Maga is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and something that could just, I mean, and kickboxing, I did it for, I think, 11, 12 years. It is the most amazing full body workout that you can do in an hour class. I mean, you can get a membership. Like, I was a part of Title Boxing Club, not a sponsor. But a certain level membership gets you gyms. And if you're one of those metropolitan girls who's always traveling to a different city every week, there are Title Boxing Clubs all over the country. There's like 19 in Houston. They're all over the place. And it is an amazing full body workout. So if you're a lady who goes to the gym anyways, get you a kickboxing membership. And you'll learn everything you need to know about self-defense. At the same time, getting your full body workout.
So, hold on one second. Go on ahead and do your thing. Hold on one second, because I think we need to take a break. This bladder is getting full.
His bladder getting full, y'all. She old.
Oh, girl. It's time to take a break.
Ooh, girl.
Take a break, girl.
She done already had hers.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Boom, bada, boom, boom. We're back. We appreciate you taking time out to listen to those words from our gracious sponsors who help keep our show employed.
Okay. She done already had hers. Are you sure that's not copyrighted? Because I don't want Miss RuPaul calling me talking about you can't use that on your show.
We will credit Miss RuPaul.
Okay,
that is 100% RuPaul's. That's
okay. Because I don't mind having a phone call from Miss RuPaul.
Ooh, that would be something.
That would be something else. But I don't want her calling. You can't use that on your show.
I don't.
Is this RuPaul? I'm so sorry.
Right. Be like, no, this is RuPaul's lawyer. Like, damn it. You just sound a lot alike on the phone.
Good
God
Lord.
Damn. Because that would happen. That's what would happen. We would get a call from her lawyer, not her.
Exactly. So we only have a few minutes left on the show. So I want to mention a couple of things before we end this show. Now, for those of you who are listening to our show, who might be on iHeartRadio is a little bit more involved, which means that if you want to listen to this episode, you still have to go to Joel and Randy's Texas Tea. It's going to take them 2 weeks. Hopefully not the full 2 weeks, because the last time they did it, I think, in about 7 or 8 days. But
we're already at 7 days now.
No, I literally just did it yesterday.
So it's just me that we hurry through these things. Okay,
you know what? I work all day, girl. I'm just doing my thing. I do what I can.
And I'm just at the park drinking White Claw, whistling at stroller daddies.
Okay, you know what? So the thing is that in order to, if you listen to us on iHeartRadio, you're still going to go to Joel and Randy's Texas Tea until the change has been made there. They already sent me a notice this morning saying that they got my request, so it will be happening. But for right now, just listen.
Does that mean the show's a tranny?
Ooh.
We're in transition, y'all.
We're in transition, but please don't use the tranny thing. Girl, I ain't got time. Girl,
ain't nobody got time for that. Watch, that's the person whose lawyer we're gonna hear from.
Exactly.
They're calling right now. That is them. They just take your phone. The second you didn't even get through saying.
They told us we can't do it. We are going to have some surprising things happening on this show now that we're that little gay talk show. I'm trying to still work out Oh, by the way, we have a phone number.
We do have
a phone number.
The show got a phone
But here's
number.
what I want you to do. I want you to go to our Facebook page and look up that phone number. And you can text us with show ideas and all this other stuff. Show ideas,
shout-outs. We'll try to, put a little bit of time, before breaks, or we'll figure out a time when and where that's the most appropriate as it works for the show. But we would love to hear from our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. So go to our Facebook page. Now, here's the funny thing. here's a funny little story. So when I was changing the Facebook page and I wanted to put the title for the show on the page, Facebook rejected it. They said it was too general, blah, 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 blah. And I sent them an appeal going, but that's the name of our podcast. So I don't understand why I couldn't do it. And then I got rejected a second time. So I said, okay, I don't know what to do from this point. So this is what I did. Our Facebook page is The T, That Little Gay Talk Show. That is the name of our Facebook page.
Fair enough.
Because it works out for them, it works out for us. So there we go. And if you want to text us, the number will be on that Facebook page. So just look us up on our Facebook page. And if you want to text in or anything else, please do so. In the future, not now. Please don't do this now. In the future, when we have a little bit more stuff set up, you'll be able to call in, and we'll be able to take your call on the air.
Right, we'll do live broadcasts, too, sometimes.
Sometimes, every now and then, we'll do a live broadcast. But even when we do recorded broadcasts, if you want to call in, we'll take the call, and we'll let you say what you need to say and everything else, and we'll have fun with it. So that's what we're going to do. And the thing is that we're approaching the show from a brand new perspective. From everything that I learned from doing Joel and Randy's Texas Tea, I've learned that having a community at the table talking about certain subjects and everything is so much fun, and you get so many different opinions that now that we're into That Little Gay Talk Show, I felt like that name actually really does work for our show, because we always have different people on the show. We have different co-hosts on the show as well. It's always going to be me and Pinky. We're always the main co-hosts.
Always.
But every now and then there'll be Marcus. Of course, we have two Marcuses, so there will be two Marcuses. There will always be a Carlos. There will always be a Singapore. And of course, there'll always be David White. And it will rotate every week. So each week you'll hear... Of course, every week you'll hear me and Pinky.
It's going to be a poopery.
It's going to be a poopery. A
poo-poo platter.
A dickpery, a vagina monologue.
An udu man smell.
Mm-hmm.
Musk.
So each week, and like I said, Pinky and I really sat down and we hammered this out, and we really tried to understand what
strictly on the whiteboard, y'all.
Yeah, strictly on the whiteboard. Strictly on the whiteboard. I am so not his type, so it's not anything that we need to be talking about right now.
But if you're a big boy and you get that phone number, I want to see middies.
Okay. Okay, you'll be getting most of those calls. That's up to you.
I love middies.
But for the most part, I love the idea of having a community show where we can just talk about different things. And yes, we will have guests on. And we will have all kinds of fun, all kinds of excitement, all kind of madness will happen.
Madness, debauchery,
madness,
depravity,
chicanery,
buffoonery.
All kinds of bacchanalian pleasures.
Ooh,
I said bacchanalian.
I like that.
I love that word, bacchanalian. It just sounds so gay. It's sexy.
It does sound real gay. It sounds real gay.
It's real gay and real sexy. So... Bacchanalian. I just want to use that word. So I have wanted to use that word for so long.
Love it.
So look for us also on Little Gay Talk Show, which, by the way, I'm sorry, Pinky, I couldn't put that for some reason into Instagram. So I just went with Little Gay Talk Show on Instagram. Of course, Twitter, it's Little Gay Talk Show at Pinky and Joel. I put Pinky's name first simply because why not?
I should get one.
Mm-hmm. He should get one. he
as Mama Bird.
He needs one as Mama Bird. So it's at Pinky and Joel on Twitter. That Little Gay Talk Show.
I love it.
I know, right? It's so sexy. So right. Which put Pinky on top, which I'm not really sure. I might have to go back and change that because why am I on the bottom? But I am versatile, so it's fine.
It's fine. We're both versatile, and which means we both know Just because you on top, don't make you a top.
Exactly.
Or the top in that instance.
And not
I've had many a robust boy on top who was not topping.
You know,
it was like a big fluffy rodeo.
You know, I like, if I'm going to have a big guy back there, the few times that I do allow
me
that.
In half.
The few times that I do allow that, by the way, if I'm going to have a big guy back there, I want ex-football player.
Ooh, linebacker built like a refrigerator. Yes,
with a little bit of a belly, not too much.
A little bit.
A little bit of a belly.
Tree trunk legs.
Big tree trunk hands.
Ooh.
Big tree trunk legs. Big tree trunk thighs.
Just thickness.
Big tree trunk feet that plant themselves well. Grabbing my little apple bottom. At 51, I still have the cutest apple bottom you could ever imagine. I have been told this by men. God knows. God damn, you have a nice ass. Thank you. You couldn't tell from the jeans that I wear, but once those jeans come out, it's a cute little apple bottom that's not sagging. It's not sagging. It is upright and firm.
At 50, it should not be sagging. You don't get sagging privileges until you're at least 65.
And I'm hoping by 65, that ass is still my best feature.
It better make change.
Although, to be quite honest, just to let you know, gentlemen.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Here we go.
Just to let you know, gentlemen, my best feature is actually these beautiful set of lips.
Oh, thank God.
I know what you thought I was going to go with.
Lord have mercy.
I know what you thought I was going to go with, but, people need to see me from the outside with clothes on. And then they get the surprise when the zipper comes off.
DSL. We're not talking about internet, y'all.
We are not. Ooh, Lord.
Although his internet is great.
It is. And I'm not going to.
We're not plugging that.
We're not plugging that.
We're not plugging that.
They're not
giving me. Yeah, you got the free Apple TV. That's not enough. It's not enough.
This bitch is going to do it anyway.
Oh, no, I'm not. There are more than one company giving away Apple TVs out here.
So we're not going to say anything more about that. All we're going to say is the fact that please, come and listen to our show. We have fun on this show.
Listen to the show right into the show. If there is something that we should be talking about that we don't know we should be talking about, let us know. Read a bitch. The library is always
open. We can take a good reading like nothing in the world. Like nothing in the world. Sometimes
we are like the library on campus. We are always
now
open.
Remember, we're still the head librarians at this table.
100% that.
100%. So just because you read us doesn't mean that we don't tell you to shh, be quiet, bitch.
Because we wrote chapters in that book.
Yeah, exactly.
That you learned how to read from.
I know the Dewey Decimal System, honey. I know exactly where that book is, and I can pull it out and read you right back. So if that reading is going to be constructive, I'll take it. But if it's not, be ready.
Don't come in no wedges. Don't come in no wedges, no cheaters. And definitely don't come at us in flats.
Ooh, yes, ma'am. There she went. She went. She said flats.
If you want to read, bring your reading shoes.
And that better be stiletto because we already have ours on.
Above average, more than 5.5 inches.
Exactly. So
get on my level.
So once again, I think I've already said all the social media pages.
Yep.
Because that's a standard requirement.
Yippers.
If you do this kind of stuff.
You do this stuff, you gotta...
But you can also visit us at Spreaker, too. I mean,
this girl's got 5 cigarettes lit in here just smoking. She loves to burn them down. We are smokers. Sorry, you all don't like it?
Yeah, we're going to get red for that.
That's just fine. The first thing in my Grindr profile is, I'm a smoker. I like smoking. I'm not going to quit. If that's not for you, don't bother tapping.
Once again, I hate to say this, but I miss Greg's List. So miss Greg's List.
Have you not tried Double List?
I can't get my afternoon tea when I need my afternoon tea.
You got to try Double List.
You can't go on Growler or...
No, Double List.
No. Hold on. May I explain this, please?
Explain, Lucy. Explain.
You can't go on Growler or Scruff for a nooner because everybody works. These people work for a living. Everybody on Grindr does not work. They just college students just trying to get by.
And they're at their damn parents' house and they can't host.
Exactly.
Ugh,
so
irritating.
No, and I'm 51. I'm not fixing to go on Grindr. That's not happening. So that's why I miss Craigslist, because at least I can go, hey.
Right, because they can have that open in their browser
Hey,
window.
I'm at home right now, and I'm laying in bed. Can you come over? I just need a little something. Be over at noon, out the door at noon 30.
Noon 30. Boop, boop. Gosh, my 20s were so much. Times. I miss my 20s. Mm-hmm. I used to have a revolving door. I used to get more ass than a toilet seat.
Oh, Lord.
Lord.
Mm-mm.
Got me reminiscing about the old days. 5 years ago.
That was 5 years ago. Bitch, that was 5 years ago. Oh, good Lord. 5 years ago. This bitch here. Anyway, I think we're...
Are we almost out?
I think we're almost out, aren't we?
We are. We're like right on the dot.
We're right on the cusp. No, we're not on the cusp, because we're actually right on... If we were on the cusp, we would be like at 2 or 3 minutes. But we're on the dot.
We're like on the dot, 22 seconds. 5, 6, 7, 8.
So, Miss Pinky, you know what to do.
Well, I will say what I always say, and that is, if you ain't going to be good at it.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. And somehow or another, we're going to come up with a theme song for this show. We need a theme song, bitch.
We need a theme song. We're going to
have to work this shit out. We need a theme song. So, bye.